Hello, this is Wyland with the FPV podcast, where we talk about the FPV community and everything we do with our radio-controlled machines. Before we get into the show, I just want to very quickly touch upon our Patreon giveaway. This is a monthly giveaway that we're going to be doing for our Patreon supporters. So if you're interested in supporting the podcast and being entered into the giveaway, please go over to fpvpodcast.com. That's fpvpodcast.com. One last thing I want to say is I want to thank our latest Patreon supporters, JT. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast, and your prize is coming in the mail. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's FPV podcast. Over on the drone side of things have been getting a little hairy, so we decided to leave that behind for a little bit, and we're going to talk about wings instead. So this week we got a really special guest, but before we introduce him, Elvin, what do you got this week? No drama.
Hey, it's good. It's good to see we got some no drama crew in here. Man, if you've been around in drone racing for like the last week, it has been something just unbelievable. The people that have been getting along and defending.
What did I say about no drama? What did I say about no drama?
I'm not talking about them. I'm not talking about the drama. I'm not talking about what caused the problem.
Keep moving.
I'm just talking about what is going on. I mean, it's just weird for all these guys to be arguing about, they all have the same passion, which is crazy. You know, they all have the same passion, the same love. It's just, we just need to focus everybody back down to what it's supposed to be. It's not about you. It's about us. And I'm done.
All right. No cussing. This is a family-friendly show, just to let you know. Okay, but, Anthony. We're glad you're here, and we are glad to talk about wings because the ring racing season is about to start up, and you are a big factor in a lot of things. So can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Anthony Watton, co-founder of TBRC Wings. David Whedon and I both operate that little entity, and I'm really passionate about FPV in general, but wings kind of got a piece of my heart, so...
Yep, the first time I saw Anthony was when we were up at actually Drone Nationals, and he literally had an entire table full of TBRC wings. I walked by and it's like, dude, this is just like one person. It's like an entire row of wings. It's like, damn, okay, that's pretty impressive.
That was a good trip, despite any of the issues that they might have had in the organization. It was still a good trip. It was a lot of camaraderie there, a lot of fun.
How many wings did y'all sell?
At Nationals?
Yeah.
I didn't sell any at Nationals because I wasn't there to sell. I was there just with the sponsored pilots and doing whatever I could do on the flight line to make things run and operate smooth.
Nice, I tell you what, though, in Nationals, it was definitely the show for wings because that was actually what drew the most interest. So it's always good to talk to somebody in the wing industry. So if you can, just as a starter, Anthony, can you kind of tell us how you got into RC in general and also when you got into FPV?
Sure. Wow. This dates back quite a few years. I think back to 2012 or 11. I work for the Department of National Defense. That's my day job. And I was working with the Aviation Museum, and they were doing some research on lost aircraft from the end of the Second World War. And there's apparently one that was crashed in a lake called Gaspereau Lake. It's about probably, what would it be, 20 miles from my place. And they were looking at getting dive crews in, and it was really expensive to get dive crews in to go in this lake. So my suggestion was use an ROV, an underwater sub. And they said, well, they were even more expensive than the divers. So I said, well, build one. And they looked at me like I had three heads. And I said, well, I'll build one. So I took it upon myself to do the online research and build a submersible ROV. And I didn't know the RC technology whatsoever at that time. So this was back in 2009, I believe it was. 2008.
Yeah.
So somebody suggested, I was trying to get my battery voltage to display up on my screen. So someone said, talk to these FPV guys so they know everything about these OSDs. I know shit about it. So I stumbled onto a forum group, a Canadian forum group called TBRC, Team Basement RC. Mm-hmm. And that is what put the bug in my but to get involved in FPV and RC and flying and all of that stuff. And obviously now having TBRC Wings as my co-business, my business name, that's where it all stems from, is just a by chance job that I was doing at work.
Okay, that's kind of neat. It's the first time I've heard somebody saying I'm building a submarine, and that's what got me into RC.
Yeah, I know. It's a stretch, but that's exactly how it all unfolded. It's pretty cool.
So we have to know, was it successful? Did you build the submarine, and did it work?
The submarine works. Everything works fine. There's no friggin' plane in the bottom of that lake.
That's how it works. Yeah.
Hey, that you accomplished something nobody else did. That's awesome.
Hey, this could be like the first underwater submersible drone. You never know.
There's a lot out there now, actually.
Oh yeah. Okay. I totally understand. So after you got into, research for this particular sub or underwater craft, like what drew you over to flying stuff, or did you start with ground?
Well, I didn't start with the ground. I started with the sub, obviously, the submersible. But when I joined the forum group, TBRC, to learn about all the equipment that these guys are using, the new technologies back then, that's when I started seeing the videos the guys were doing with the HD cameras, the Heroes, and putting them on these wings, and I just was in awe. And I said, I have got to do this. I got to try this. So took it upon myself, bought a simulator, taught myself how to fly with the simulator, and then I started flying, Bixlers and other fixed wing aircraft, and then eventually, of course, there was a company that manufactured the original TBRC wings that went out of business years ago, and I sort of picked up where that got left off and turned it into what it is today.
Did you go into that with the intention of turning it into a wing business that you wanted, or was that kind of like, hey, I just wanted to build a wing for myself, and it just kind of took off?
Well, that's exactly what happened. I think my first wings were like pop wings, the Hobby King pop wings, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those were my first wings. And then I found on one of the RC groups, there was an original TBRC wing for sale. And at this time I had been in the TBRC forums group and got to be friends with all these guys for, over a couple of year period. So I nabbed this original TBRC wing. And then I tracked down the gentleman that actually did the design work on that and wanted to buy the rights to it. And he lost all his files, and it was an absolute nightmare. We just absolutely could not reproduce what he had manufactured. Wow. So David and I met at one of the North American FPV meets in Quebec, and he suggested that, maybe we could work together because he's a graphic artist with Ubisoft and knows the stuff as far as the artwork goes and to doing design work. So we collaborated on Skype for like 1.5 billion hours, and we redesigned the V2, which is the first TBRC wing that I manufactured, and it just went on from there. Like the Reflex came out, the Apex, the new Villain now, and that's how it all started.
Okay, so what was the first wing? What was it called again? I'm sorry.
It was the TBRC 60 V2, because the original version, I couldn't get the files from the gentleman that had them. His files were all corrupted. So David and I did a redesign of a 60-inch wing under the TBRC name, and that's how we all started.
Okay, so he had no problems with you reusing his company title. He was just all for it.
Well, the company title, it wasn't a company title. He was just a guy that manufactured the wings for TBRC Forum Group.
Oh, okay.
The guys in the forums. And when the forums all folded, as a lot of forums have over the years, they just sort of went with Facebook and social media. They kind of put the kibosh on a lot of forum groups. Mm-hmm. I asked if the founders of TBRC, Team Basement RC, which would be Yuval Klein, Yuvsky, as we all know him, and Mike Feedham, Rod Hancock, were the founders. And I asked if I could use the TBRC namesake and roll into doing this whole wing business, and that's how it all started.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Hey, you know what? This is
got permission. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's usually not how. That's usually doesn't. It's how it works.
Usually you get cussed out.
Yeah. Well, we're Canadians, right? So I mean, we all kind of love and respect each other up here. So it was just hey guys, do you mind if I use the name? And it was like, yeah, go for it, man. And that was it.
See,
Cool.
that don't happen around here, man. People
That's
be
not
cussing you out. 3-4 friends getting in cars, driving by your house.
Still drive-bys.
All right.
Yeah.
So obviously, you two started on the 60-inch wing. Was it a company by that point, or was it just like a dream of manufacturing something?
It was basically the forum was still alive and well at that time, because the social media wasn't in your face like it is today. Yeah. So the guys that had the original V1s were all up for getting a V2, and I just managed to actually Yuski had bought most of the equipment to build a CNC machine, but he just didn't have time. I think I just lost my video.
Yeah,
I did.
That's fine.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay. So where was I? I forgot. I got
sidetracked. Yuski had CNC, got all the CNC equipment.
That's right. He had all the CNC equipment, but he had 2 small children at that time, still young, but really didn't have the time for it. So me being an old man, I decided to take that into my wings, and pardon the pun, and make it happen.
That's pretty cool. There we go. So, Elvin, were you around at that time, looking forward to TBRC 60-inch, or were you just kind of where were you at that point?
I did the 60, the 70, and the 80-inch like a couple of years before they came out. So like I was back down to the 30 inches. The 30 inches is easy pack stuff, it fit in your trunk of your car, a couple batteries, a radio, it's pretty much, and that's what I like about the Apex, and it's 28 inches, 28 or 27, I think, right?
Yeah, it's 27.
Yeah. Anyway, but it's one of those ships that you could put 2, 3. You can start off at 200 watts and work your way up to 600, 700 if you want to push it.
Yeah, that's not what it was intended for. Believe me, it was a park flyer. David and I said we need a little plane that we can throw in the dash of your vehicle, drive to the ballpark, toss it, and fly it around in circles in a baseball diamond. And then immediately after everybody got their hands on it, they got stupid with it and started throwing 4S and 6S, and it's just crazy. And the thing's a rocket now.
So that's usually how it goes, right? Everybody says, "Oh, we're not going to do things," and then all of a sudden, 600 watts later, 100 miles an hour later. Is that what you were doing?
Well, that's normally what happens. You start off with a plan. Oh yeah, I just want to get it in the air and just kind of like fly along for a little bit, and then 2 weeks later, you're like, oh, a package just arrived. What happened? Oh, I got like 3 times the power I had last week.
Yeah. Everybody wants to go for the speed.
It seems inevitable, like I don't think I know too many guys that don't want to go faster. Like I do know a few guys that are like out there for their whole point is endurance, time aloft in the air. But those guys they climb up to like 500-600 feet and float around for a while. Usually those guys go to gliders, but for what we're doing, speed and agility is the taste that you get.
We've come a long way. So the V2 was obviously kind of a floater. The Alpine, that was a park flyer, but people have turned it into a racing machine because everybody.
Apex.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, the Apex.
What else? Alpine's. I'm going to write that down. Alpine. You said it was Alpine.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make my next wing named after you.
And
we're going to call it the Alpine.
Now I'm going to have to buy like 50 of them, give it away or something. I can't do that.
That'll be in the contract.
Oh, man. Wow. Elvin, we're in trouble now. We're gonna have to sign some wings.
You hurry up, and we'll take it to India with us. That's what
I heard you were doing a trip to India. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've been trying to decide what I'm gonna take with me. You know, like I got a couple ideas, but really, I'd love to build something new to take there and possibly leave it. You know, trying to get ready for this thing, and I have a bunch of wings over here that I'm looking at that I should be flying, but I haven't. And my wife is kind of like, you know,
angry.
But like I said, I don't want to take that or 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 that. See, there's 9 of them in this room already. So like, it's like I have a lot of stuff to fly. I just want to take something new. Would you say why?
It's like he's already got 9 of them. He wants something new, but that's a different story. All right, so we had 2 of your wings already mentioned. What else do you have?
Yeah.
Well, there's one that we're still in the working on. It dates back quite a ways. It's a little 40-inch wing, and when I say little, because at 40 inches, because it completely folds up. David designed this thing, and it's quite a piece of engineering. The difficult part, of course, is the engineering aspect of it to get it from foam to form, so that it's an actual functional aircraft. But we worked with the designer of spec UAV antennas, 5.8 antennas and 1.2, and he's a machinist by trade, and he's designed and built, and we just received a new machine that's going to do the spar drilling for that particular wing. So I'm hoping to get that out within the next, I'm going to say 6 months, because it's been like 2 years trying to figure out how we're going to get this thing, to production. Mm-hmm. It's been a long time.
Okay. What is it called? Do you have a name for it?
Yep, that's David's Australian name. It's the Boomer, and that is a male kangaroo. For those that don't know,
why Boomer? Yeah, Boomer. So the goal, Boomer. Yep, the goal of this wing is for it to be taken apart easily, so you can travel with it and then put it together at the field and fly it. Is that the
correct?
Goal?
The whole 40-inch wing folds up into a package about the size of a radio transmitter. That's how small it folds up. It's quite amazing.
I'll take one of those.
Yeah.
See, hey. You're gonna have to see if you actually see Elvin's name come across your order number when that comes out.
Where's that at? Where's that at?
No, that sounds really cool though.
So that's something we've been kicking around for a couple of years now. And like I said, the biggest reason that it's never really developed is because we just didn't have the tooling or the machining. I run everything here. David lives in Montreal and I live in Nova Scotia. We're 800 miles apart. So right. All of our communications is online. We're online back and forth as we're working on things. He's not feet on the ground here in the shop, so unfortunately I do a brunt of the work here. I do have one guy that does come in, a few hours here and there to help out Troy Watanko, and he's a big benefit when I can get him around, but it's hard to get him pinned down because he runs a farm and. He's always, I got to do this or I got to do that, so it's hard to get him here. But we now have the machines, the machine to do the spar drilling that we need for this thing, because it has to be really super precise, and that's pretty hard to do by hand.
I got you. Hey, that's something to really look forward to, because you're really hitting on what the drones have, which is they're very small, they're very compact, and they can fly in small spaces. Yep.
Yeah, portability is key, and this it's a great little wing. It's super stable. To get decent flight times with it, but it's been the manufacturing aspect of it that's been tough. And everything I work at here is this is a 20 by 30 foot garage. That's what everything is. That's the whole, so right now, I can't see behind me, but there is a stack of Apexes, Reflexes, Villains, and 60 cores ready for me to cut. So I've got a lot of work ahead of me in the next couple of weeks to catch up, because it's been about a month since I've had anything done.
Give me a rundown of all your wings and what their purposes are.
All right.
That's good.
Starting with the TBRC 60, it's a big ship, decent flight times. It's a camera ship. It's great for, reaching out there at a good distance because it can handle the weight, and all the bigger gear. Great photography ship for a fixed wing. Next up would be the Reflex 38. We're on version 2 of that now. That was a hot little item back in 2014, 2015. We did a lot of racing with it when racing was just sort of in its inception. Really popular little wing. Sold a ton of those wings. Still selling them. After that was the Apex. Our park flyer turned into a Bullet because that's pretty much what everybody's done with it. And the newest one that we have right now is the Villain, which is just a flat out go like stink racecraft.
Is that the spec wing or is that something else?
No, that is the Villain is its own thing. I am cutting spec wings now for the FPV WRA exclusively so that they can sell them and get the profit off it. I don't make any money on them. It's my way of supporting the FPV WRA and getting people to have a choice if they have a favorite manufacturer or a favorite person or that manufactures their planes. They can support that in spirit, but I'm not making any money on these things. They're the intention for me, but the spec wing is just to support the hobby. So that's where I'm at with that.
Oh, hey.
How big is the Villain?
The Villain is 36.5 inches wingspan.
And what are the speeds it's reaching? Because that's what Elvin really wants to know.
$140, $150 with the
Not really.
Villain.
I'm I'm looking for something that to fit a format. It looks good. I'm looking at it. I just wanted to know how big it was.
36.5 inches.
36.
That's good size.
Yeah.
See, you can fit that in the luggage.
It will. That's one thing. Transporting wings is a royal pain in the butt. But look, if you can get those Plano bow cases like super cheap, and gut them, and they work really well for transporting at airports. Other than they're kind of scrutinized. What the hell are you bringing a bow into the airport for? But
right. I usually just stuff them in the luggage. That's what I do. And that's why I only take one that fits in the luggage. But 36 inches, some 36 inches can fit in a luggage and some can't. And that one looks like a can.
Yeah, it's probably it'd be dependent on the sweep angle of the wings. That would probably dictate if you can get in that bag or not.
No, it is important, especially when you're traveling overseas and stuff like that, which is probably what Elvin's talking about. But other than that, obviously before the Boomer, is there anything else that you're kind of researching you want to let us in on, or is that good?
Not in the wing aspect. I got a few ideas for some fixed wing stuff that I'd like to do. I guess I can let the cat out of the bag a bit. I've been in communications with an older gentleman, retired. I can't tell you where he's worked before, but let's just say he's been pretty avid aeronautical engineer. And he's given me the plans, designs, blueprints, and everything for a forward swept wing aircraft that's mind-boggling to watch it fly. It's unbelievable. He's given it to me, so I was pretty happy about that.
Elvin's intrigued. Look, he's like, okay, I want to know more.
Yeah.
Look at him. He's like,
I really can't say a whole lot about it right now.
That's fine.
But other than it's a pretty amazing aircraft, not designed by myself or David, actual engineer that designed this that I've friended online.
That's awesome.
He's a fan of TBRC and what I do and who I am as a person as well. And he's just said, I don't know how long I'm going to be on the planet. He said, I've got all this ton of work into it. He sent me boxes of stuff. So he's just giving it to me.
Airfoils and stuff.
Everything. Yeah. I get all.
Yeah, see,
Got it
also I
all.
got a buddy like that.
So is this like long-term project, or is this like imminent? You got a product that you're going to be displaying sometime within, like, say, this year?
I can't. I'm really bad at putting timelines on anything because I am so friggin' busy with 27 different things on the go all the time. You know, I play in a bass guitar in a band whenever I can. I'm a volunteer firefighter. My wife and I run an animal rescue together. So between that and my day job, I'm a pretty busy dude.
So
How do
like
you-
I thought I was busy.
Like, how do you run a business with all those things going? Holy cow.
It's called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, I think. You know,
I don't think he sleeps. I think he just
not a
like
lot, not much.
Oh,
Excuse me.
I got 25 things to ship tomorrow. Shit.
Yeah, been there multiple times. And I'm looking right now at my emails popping up because I just managed to get more product back in, and I got a bunch to pack up and ship after I get off the line here tonight. So,
Well, hey, you know what? We're glad that you're doing well over in TBRC, because obviously there's a lot of people that fly your products, and you're also sponsoring a lot of, different things. So one of the things that you talked to us about was obviously the FPV. So can you let us in on what's going on over there?
sure. North American FPV meet is the currently, well, and it always will be, as long as it stays running, the longest running FPV meet in North America, obviously. This dates back to 2008, 2009, I think, when the very first ones. Fat Shark was a brand new company at that time. They were the only video goggles that you could even buy. We were using, like Trimerson virtual reality, or not virtual reality, cinema glasses, putting them in ski goggles and stuff back then, hacking VCRs for receivers, whatever we could make. But it's really near and dear to me because I've been involved in it since 2014, in the organizing aspect of it almost every year. And big this year, it's in Canada this year.
Okay. So what is the jump thing? Is that because the people that organize it wants to make sure that both sides, of the countries get involved, or?
Well, in the spirit of being North America, that entails Canada and the U.S. both. So we met some really cool guys down in upstate New York, NEFPV crew, and really good people. And we met them all through the forums, the TBRC forums initially. And so when we decided at one point in time, just in conversation, I guess probably at the campfire at one of the meets, we should do it in New York next year. Great idea. Give somebody else a break for a year. And then it started bouncing back and forth. So now every year it's held in Canada one year, and then it's held in the US the next year. And usually it's the NEFPV guys, or it's the TBRC guys up here that operate it.
Now, when that happens, do you get like different people showing up depending on which side of the pond you're on?
There are some people that can't cross the border because of some stupid thing they did when they were, 15. You know how that goes?
Elvin.
Elvin. So I guess you're not going to make any FPV.
That is not me, dude. Like that's the one thing that I'm like very, very lucky about. Like I got out of no, I'm not going to go play with sticks of dynamite with you guys. That doesn't sound like a great idea, So like I didn't get visited by the FBI. Right?
We're only kidding, Elvin.
But it's it bounces back and forth. Last year was in Steventown, New York. Great time. It was an absolute great event.
Like, for somebody who's new to FPV, what would you say, goes on? Can you give us like a general a summary of what goes on during that event?
Primarily, it's a fun flight, and that's how it started initially. It was just a bunch of guys got together, all that were into FPV, especially when the hobby was new, and just had a weekend bash of hanging out at the campfire at night. Some of the guitars come out, having a lot of fun, and of course flying. And now it's pretty much the same thing, only we do include in that racing and wing racing and quad racing both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because y'all not exclusive, to wings. Y'all do a little racing and everything.
There's everything at any FPV is not a wing event. It's a fun fly, and you'll see everything from short, not slope soarers, but gliders, small planes, quads, you name it. It'll be there. Cars, ground vehicles, you'll see it all there.
Oh, there's I know the last two fun flies I went to, there was FPV trucks, RC trucks. They were running all over the field, and guys with quads were chasing them.
Yeah,
pretty funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Anything that you can stick a camera on these days is FPV now, so that's pretty amazing.
Dude,
things change, man.
Yeah, the technology has really progressed when it comes to putting FPV on things, which is actually kind of nice because it kind of really opens the door up for other things to kind of amuse yourself while you're, waiting your turn. Or actually, I shouldn't say that because then all of a sudden we're going to have all sorts of video issues. Okay, scratch that. I'm cutting that out. All right. Hey, I do want your opinion on this, though, Anthony. Obviously, racing has always been a passion of most people. And with, the WRA coming in and, trying to do wing racing, have you noticed a shift in people's dedications to going towards racing as opposed to long range or fun fly or anything like that?
I think you're going to find you're going to have, there's always been a mixed bag of guys. People that are competitive, whether it's a go-kart or bicycle, weightlifting or flying airplanes. It doesn't matter what it is. There's competitive people out there. I enjoy the racing. I enjoy helping in the organization of it. I love watching it. It's so exciting. Wing racing, especially, it's just an absolute blast to watch. But it's not every aspect of it. So I don't think you're going to see a big shift leaning that way. There are more younger people that are more driven to and that have that competitiveness in them that want to get into the racing.
Like for the younger kids, do you see that as a draw? Are you seeing more young kids drawn to racing as opposed to just going out there and fun flying?
Yeah, I definitely think that a lot of the younger people, it's like gaming to them. They got fast hands, fast reflexes. They take to it so naturally that if they're competitive in games, they're going to be equally competitive in FPV racing. Okay.
Now, have you noticed them going in between drones and wings, or are they kind of more dedicated? Because a lot of the drone racers, they don't flip over very often.
No, I'm not seeing a big shift. We're definitely working towards doing the converting them, bringing them to the dark side, as we say.
Any luck so far?
I've seen it pick up quite a bit in the last bit. There's several different groups, racing leagues and groups that I see that, they're excited about it because usually once they've done one, even if a small event, and they include some wings in those races or fixed plane or of any kind, they're like, wow, this is so much different as a spectator. Let's do this again next weekend. So it's just a matter of them trying it for themselves. Once they do, they get bit by the bug.
I do like actually spectating wing racing. I'll have to admit that it is much more fun to watch wing racing. The only issue I have is getting access to the amount of land to do a wing race and still be within the city limits.
There's two things that'll make that a little bit more viable for wing racing, and that is running spec class. Obviously, you don't need as big a footprint because they're a lot slower, although they are pretty darn quick, the spec wings. I think the only if you're limited to your footprint that you can actually run a venue on, you're going to have to slow things down. Start have running classes that are 2S. You know, as ridiculous. We're not going to know. We can't do a 140-mile-an-hour plane in a baseball diamond. It isn't going to work.
Right. That's not possible.
If that's the footprint you have to work with, then you've got to come up with something that's suited for that track.
It's very
suited
true
for that space.
But man, 140 miles an hour watching those races, it's a lot of fun. Everybody's drawn to speed. That's just how it is.
You're right.
It's
You're absolutely right. And the noise.
It is a lot of fun.
Sound.
That sweet sound. There we go.
It calls you from way away.
It is a lot of fun.
I'm sure, Anthony, there's times when you're flying, you're driving by somewhere and you hear something, and I know what that is.
I love the sound of wings for sure. They got a unique scream to them. There's something about them. It does draw you. If you're at an event and you hear one screaming overhead, you can't help but look at the thing. Right. You know, it's like, what is that? Now, I come from a background of motorcycles, and I've got a couple old Harleys here that I've had since I was in my 20s, and the same thing. I hear a Harley and my head's on a swivel.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta look at it.
Right.
Definitely. All right. Being a Canadian yourself, obviously, you guys are working in conjunction. Tell me if I'm using the right words with the Canadian FPV and also the CFDR. What is going on this year in 2018 with that?
Oh, we're just starting talk right now with the Canadian Federation for Drone Racing. And we're working with FPV Canada, or I'm working with FPV Canada to try to get. We're not all condensed into small fields and small areas.
Mm-hmm.
So what my proposal was with FPV Canada, and after consulting with the FPV WRA and getting the green light from those folks, that we're going to roll everything basically from the FPV WRA, FPV Canada's organization, and run sanctioned FPV WR races here in Canada. So that's where we're heading.
Okay, so
that makes sense.
I know FPV Canada is obviously big into drone racing as well. Is it going to be like run in conjunction during their drone racing events, or is it like completely separate events?
It's too early right now to hash out exactly how we're going to do this. If it's going to be two separate events or run them in conjunction with. One of the groups I just started working with in Vancouver, or on the West Coast rather, in BC. They're definitely going to start slow and work their way into it. So, they'll be doing open class races to start with. And then they really want to get into doing spec wing racing, because spec wing racing is so much fun. Everybody's, the races are so tight. It's not about the fastest, slickest, fastest airframe out there. All these aircraft are primarily, exactly the same. They run the same battery, same motor, and they're matched. So it's really a pilot skill thing at that point, and it's so fun to watch.
Definitely. It's one of the things that I think the WRA is really doing really well, and it's something that we're really struggling over here in drones, because there's so many manufacturers, and as soon as you say spec, you're eliminating 90% of the manufacturers, and it becomes a problem. Whereas spec wing, the way you guys did it, is actually, it's a super smart idea, right? It's like you have a design, anybody can manufacture it, and you just sell
open
them.
Source. And yeah, it's open source. This year, the WRA's goal is to have all the manufacturers send them the wings for them to resell, and that way the small amount of profit that they'll make off of those wings will go back into the organization, because it costs a ton of money, and I know those guys put a lot of money out of pocket to get this off the ground, and there's no fees for registration fees. There's no membership fees. There's nothing. So, it's all, the only way that's going to carry on and continue to grow is with some sort of financial support. And I figure that's my part, at least I can do is bust out some wings and ship them down to the guys and say, here's the TBRC spec wings, sell them, pocket the money. That's just working with them to make things grow.
No, it's super smart. And the way you guys have done it as a manufacturing unit working as a whole is something that we're kind of lacking over on the drone side. It's something that I wish we would do. It's like, okay, everybody design this particular frame and any manufacturer can supply that frame and it just works. It's, I don't know. Maybe someday, but yeah, I can appreciate how you guys collaborate.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's an age thing because a lot of us have been, we're a couple, five,
Right.
4 or 5 groups that are aged a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that.
With age comes wisdom. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, hey. Let's say this. Most guys with a credit card.
Yeah, they got those. Mine's always like pinned. Maxed out.
Normal. That's normal though. That's normal.
Dude,
but you ain't stressing about it. That's what I'm talking about. There's a young guy out there right now who's got credit cards in his pocket and he's sweating the first bill, you know what I mean? And then there's like me, like I'm not sweating the bill. I know it's gonna get paid. That's an older guy thing.
Wisdom.
Yeah.
It's called wisdom.
Wisdom.
Yeah. Why stress?
Older and wider. Older and wiser.
I like the first one. Older and wider.
Yeah.
Okay, I can tell you're tired. So I'm going to end it with these last few questions. You've been in the wing business a long time. If somebody came up to you and said, "Hey, I just want a beginner wing to fly," what would you point them towards?
A pop wing from Hobby King. That's what I would point them to, because most of us that are manufacturing these things, especially for speed, they're not meant for a beginner. There are a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff Chinese market at what are they called? It's not a AR stealth wing or something. It's
Black Shadow.
Yeah, Black Shadow. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. The Reptiles, cheap. 800, cheap. Buy one of those, beat the hell out of it, learn how to fly, then come see some of the guys that are manufacturing something that's got some oomph behind it.
Little pep in their step, as they say. Break that 100-mile-an-hour barrier. Which, by the way, please do that safely, because at 100 miles an hour, you can definitely wreck some things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I never recommend any of my own products personally to anybody that's new, because the last thing I want to have is them have a bad experience, and if they haven't had their hands on the sticks long enough to know how a wing handles in the air, it's just a bad idea to try to sell them that. That's just who I am anyhow.
No, that's good. Okay, here comes the controversial question, because we've had a lot of arguments over this, so we'll try to keep it short. Flight controller and wings, for or against? In your reasoning,
they have a place, but not in racing.
Not in racing. Why would you say that? I mean, is it the advantage thing, or is it like?
I don't know. I think pilot assisted flight is just that. It's pilot assisted. It's not piloting anymore. You're not allowed a computer manipulate what that aircraft is doing, and if it's 30-mile-an-hour crosswinds, deal with it. Fly the damn thing. If you can't fly through it, put it on the ground, sit and watch somebody else fly. But that's just old school me, be me.
See, Elvin? That's the old pilot thing, It just when you put in the time, see, that's really what it comes down to. When you put in the time, you want others to put in the time. You don't want some guy coming out here and tossing his wing up.
No magic buttons,
right?
No magic
and be like, look, I'm flying inverted.
They have a place. They're a fantastic thing. I have a ton of wings here that have flight controllers in them.
And it's like you can do so much.
How many motorcycles that race on tracks right now have a gyro stabilizer in it so that they don't overcompensate when they're banking or taking a turn? None. So that's
all right, folks. I've been outvoted again. I've been outvoted 2-1. The old wing guys, they refuse to convert. It's gonna happen. I'm just gonna buy my time. It's gonna happen.
When we're dead and die off, you young guys can do whatever the hell you want.
Right.
No, I
Yeah.
kind of agree. You know, keeping the sport pure isn't a bad thing, but I'm telling you, it's coming, guys.
I'm down for a novice class.
Hey,
I'm
I was
down
going to
for
say, we'll just call it that. Just call it the computerized I can't fly for shit class. And
novice class.
novice class. That's the polite way of saying it, Elvin.
Oh man, yep. I'm telling you, us drone guys, we were just like flight controller. Yeah, throw 3 in there. Wing guys is like, dude, get that electronics out of my wing. It's fine.
Pretty
it's
much.
Fine. All right. Last question, and then we'll start wrapping up. What do you fly? What do you like flying?
I like everything, except for multi-rotors, because I have never ever mastered the art of multi-rotor flying. I'm terrible with them. I fly them for a while, then I'm cursing, looking for it in the grass somewhere on the other end of the field. So yeah, it's something I've never really, and I haven't spent any time at it either. Wings, obviously, but large fixed wing platforms. You know, like the Anaconda, the Sky Hunters, you know, those big birds, because those are lazy day flyers where you sit in the field in the sun in your lawn chair, a beer in your hand, your goggles are down, and you're just got your feet kicked back, and you got one hand on the stick, and you're taking nice, slow, lazy turns.
And it's got a flight controller in it.
And it's got a flight controller in it. And I'm loving it.
It has a purpose.
I'm going down a nice, long, windy river. You know, that's really enjoyable. It's relaxing. Those are my Zen moments.
Satisfying.
There we go.
But-
You finally get to use that word. I actually agree with you on that. I think there is a time and a place to have that kind of wing, because when you get up that high, you get to see the world from that perspective. It is kind of great sometimes. It's just, you know, you do need a little extra assistance in case it needs to come back, because like your video goes out or whatever, because you don't really want those floating off and going bye-bye, because that's probably a lot of money going bye-bye.
Yeah, there's a grand just you can kiss goodbye as you watch it go over the horizon.
That would hurt. So how long do you get flight time with one of those?
That's really dependent on headwind, dependent on so many variables. Now, a little Reflex 38, our little wing. Well, I won't say little, it's larger than the Apex. David has the record with it. I can't beat him, but he's flown that 38-inch wing for 55 minutes.
Wow.
On one pack.
Wow.
Wow.
That's like your butt is
good.
falling asleep because I've been sitting in this chair for way too freaking long.
Yeah.
That's just throttle management, dead calm, no wind, first thing in the morning, absolutely still, and a 5200 3 cells, what he was running in it, and an RC timer motor, just putzing along, just to see how long he could fly. 55 minutes.
Wow.
Dude, you got to have a little luck in catching some thermals in order to get that high.
There was no thermals. He was flying no more than 50 feet off the deck, just maintaining altitude and just doing nice lazy loops. But yeah, that's a long time to sit on your butt, flying.
Okay, I might get a little bored with that. I'm sorry.
That's what he was doing. He was just trying.
Behind you.
He was just trying to see how much time can I get out of this one pack.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, that's I'm amazed at the number. How about that? Considering it's like
I haven't been up that long FPVing. I'm gonna have to try that.
I got one of those FPV Raptors, and I 40, 45 minutes. That's about as long as I want to fly, without taking a break. And but I guess once we get those flight controllers on there, you got to have a pee. It's just, hit the switch, go into loiter mode, take your goggles off, go do your thing, come back, have another drink of beer, put your goggles down. Yep, still in the air.
I tell you, it's the longest I've been in the air. I don't know, but it's like we did the cross country thing. That's a long time. You do hours, but you got to do that from either the back of a. I think they stopped allowing us to do it from a truck. You got to do it from a van again or something like that. That's got 4 sides. in a hole in the roof. That's when you can do it now, but that's about as long. I think I've flown for like 30 minutes, 35.
Wow.
Not much more than that, because it's like, we're all like handing the radio,
I know that the guys that fly slope soarers, if they got a good updraft and everything's working for them, I know they can be there until they collapse from exhaustion flying.
Yeah.
It's just never ending.
Yeah, I do know some guys like that. They go up and they never come down.
They're there for hours.
Yeah, you're like, hey man, what? And they're like, I can't go nowhere. It's right there.
Yeah, it's still in the air.
Yeah.
Hey, different breed of flyers, but that's actually really cool. And hey, for this sport, you can have something for everyone. And that's what we like about wings. And the diversity is actually really nice, because really, like in quads, like 8 minutes, 12 minutes, you're lucky to get that for long range. But, you're talking about like hours for wings. So it's definitely something that if you like long range, you really need to check out wings and just see what you can build. But just be forewarned, there is a lot of money involved, and do it safely.
It's not really a lot of money.
You start getting into GPS flight controllers. It's a lot of money.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, there's ways around that.
It's nothing achievable is ever inexpensive initially.
Right.
Everything's expensive. But look at the prices of video transmitters. I mean, a video transmitter, the first decent 5.8 ones, they were what, $75, $80, $100, initially. Now you can buy them like, what are they, $20, and you get a decent one.
A unified, the HV is 800 milliwatts, right? So that's like the best, almost 1 watt 5.8 you could get for under $100.
It's like $40. Okay.
Yeah. That's killer.
Yeah. And those, I don't know, those things are amazing. Those unifies. I got a couple of them in a few wings here. Jeez, they work good. Have really good luck with them. Flown them without antennas before. That's a bad. That's a no-no, right? It still works, and it doesn't break. No, it's unbelible. Super tough.
You're like, what? Like the other day, I was out flying, and I was like, I took off, and I like punched the throttle. And I'm like, why is my video getting worse? And I reached up to tighten up the antenna, there was none.
Oh, that was on your goggles. Yeah, I've done that. Like, I've done that before.
Where's the antenna? Hurry up, get the antenna.
Otherwise you'll lose it. All right, let's start wrapping up so that Anthony can actually get to bed, because we know he's a busy man. Anthony, thanks so much for joining us. But before we go, tell us a little bit about TBRC. Like, if we want to go buy your stuff, where do we go and how do we talk to you?
Well, I'm pretty active on Facebook. I basically turn that on in the evening when I get out here in the shop, and it's there. Private message me. The website is tbrcwings.com, all one word, lowercase, real simple to find. Facebook's probably the easiest way to reach me. On the website, my phone number's there and my email address and all of that. So
pretty cool. And what events are you going to? So that if people want to go and see your wings, talk to you, anything you got blocked out for 2018?
Definitely the North American FPV meet, obviously, being a big part of that and helping with the organization of it, organizing it means I'm definitely going to be there. Darbage Fest, I believe it's in Philly. I'm not exactly sure where, Pennsylvania. I'm going to be going to that, hopefully. Not sure. There's a few other ones in the upper portions of the states that are going to be happening. I'm going to try to make them down. It's all dependent on time.
Yep. I totally understand.
Time and sales too, because I got to make enough money to pay for these trips. But
that's usually how it goes. But it sounds like you got some pretty cool wings coming out. We're looking forward to actually seeing the Boomer, because something that can fold down to that size, but yet still fly relatively well. I mean, that'd be really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
It goes from the bag, the carry bag, which is about the size of a grocery bag. It goes from that to flight in less than a minute. That's how fast it goes together. It goes, everything's all hinged. It all pops out. You snap your spars in, put your bell on, plug your battery in, and go.
Where's mine? Where's mine?
Elvin's ready.
Look, I don't even have one right now.
I didn't ask about where's yours. I said mine.
Mine. Me. It's all about me.
Mine.
That's right. He wants a pocket-sized wing to travel to India to show everybody that's what he wants.
I'm probably gonna send him an Apex anyhow after the show.
There we go.
That'll work.
Hey, Anthony. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Elvin. You got anything?
No, that'll work.
Hey, Anthony, appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge with wings. And also, good luck to you in this coming wing racing season. Do you got any sponsored pilots you're rooting for?
Oh, yeah. Eric, Mad Russian, Yuski Klein, Gizmo, Gab 707. He flies for me when he has the opportunity to wing race. He's currently
I don't know that guy.
He's currently in the jungle doing some excursion right now. It's kind of cool.
He's got to come back all burned up because
Ryan Walker is another one nailed up.
Oh, okay. He's got some heavy hitters in there. He's gonna be ready to go.
He's got some decent pilots.
Oh dear, he's starting to start a war again. Last week he started a war about motors. Now he's starting a war about pilots.
And if I missed anybody, I apologize. It's just I've put in a 16-hour day. It's midnight right now, and I am bagged.
All right, that's right.
So I'll let you get on with your business.